I want you to just imagine something for a second.
Yeah.
Imagine earning $250,000 a year. You are living in this beautiful home, you are taking these incredible vacations, and yet you are secretly lying awake at night, just absolutely terrified of a $400 unexpected bill.
It sounds completely impossible, right? Like almost absurd.
Right. It feels like a joke, but for like a massive percentage of high earners, it is just a mathematical reality.
Yeah.
Because you naturally assume the person making $200,000 a year is, fundamentally more secure than a person making $60,000.
Oh, totally. It feels like basic math. Like more money coming in should obviously equal more wealth being kept.
Exactly.
We are just so conditioned to view income as a scoreboard, assuming the high score just automatically guarantees safety.
But then you look at the actual numbers,
Yeah.
and that simple math completely falls apart.
Yeah.
The average doctor earns nearly 4 times the typical salary, yet a shocking number of them retire with almost nothing saved.
It is wild.
A massive earner can easily end up with a lower net worth than someone making like a fraction of their income.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
So, okay, let's unpack this. Because if you listening right now, if you've ever felt like your hard-earned raises just vanish into thin air, I really want to tell you right now that you aren't careless.
No, not at all.
You're just caught in a hidden trap. And our mission for this deep dive is to figure out exactly what this salary trap is, why making more money doesn't automatically mean having more money, and how we can finally break this cycle of lifestyle inflation.
It is such a critical mission, really, primarily because when you look at the research, it reveals something staggering. Around 90% of high earners spend almost every single dollar they make.
Wait, 90%?
Yeah, 90%. And to your point, it rarely stems from, reckless irresponsibility or some sudden urge to go buy yachts.
Right, it's not the Wolf of Wall Street stuff.
Exactly. It happens because of how our income and our identity quietly intertwine behind the scenes. It shapes our choices before our conscious brain even realizes we are making them.
So let's establish what this actually looks like in everyday life. Because, we hear the term lifestyle inflation tossed around constantly.
Oh, all the time.
It's this thing where your spending rises immediately to match your new income level. You get a promotion, and suddenly you are looking at a bigger apartment or a newer car or nicer dinners out.
Yeah, the upgrades just happen.
I actually like to think of it like a gas. You know how in physics, a gas will naturally expand to fill whatever container it is put into?
That is a great way to picture it.
Right. That is exactly how our spending behaves with our income. The income is the container, and the spending just naturally expands to fill every square inch of that new space.
That physics analogy captures the mechanism perfectly, I think, because the truly insidious part of lifestyle inflation is that it masks itself as success.
Oh, wow.
The visible signs are celebrated by society. You move to a nicer zip code, you send your kids to private schools, you drive a premium car, and everyone around you thinks, wow, they have finally made it.
Right. They look at you and think you are wealthy.
But the real story is written in the hidden signs.
The hidden signs being like what is actually happening under the hood in the bank accounts.
Yes. The hidden signs are a savings rate that remains entirely stagnant even as the salary doubles over a decade.
Which is terrifying.
It is a retirement contribution that stays frozen at the exact same dollar amount. It is the minimum payments on credit cards that quietly creep upward month after month to fund that visible success.
And the most dangerous element here is that everything looks completely fine on paper.
Right. The bills are getting paid.
Yeah, the bills get paid on time. You do not feel like you were in a crisis. But that lack of a crisis is the trap itself.
Exactly.
There is no fire alarm going off to warn you that the house is slowly filling with smoke.
The absence of friction is what keeps the whole cycle going. There is no single moment forcing a change in behavior. You just keep drifting upward in your spending.
Until something breaks.
Right. The awareness only hits years later when some external shock disrupts the system. A sudden layoff, an unexpected medical emergency, a prolonged market downturn.
The stuff you can't plan for.
Yeah, and that is when the curtain gets pulled back, revealing that behind this impressive six-figure income, there is virtually zero safety net.
Man, that is bleak.
When you look at data from the Federal Reserve and Bankrate, a highly meaningful share of six-figure households actually live paycheck to paycheck.
It's hard to even wrap your head around that.
Many report they could not easily cover an unexpected $400 cash expense without borrowing or selling something.
A $400 expense for someone making over $100,000 a year?
Yeah.
That statistic just blows my mind every single time I hear it.
It's wild.
But since this is happening to so many incredibly smart, capable people, we have to ask why we are wired to do this. I mean, there has to be a deeper neurological or psychological thing driving this behavior.
Oh, absolutely. The core driver is deeply rooted in behavioral science and our own brain chemistry. It's something called hedonic adaptation.
Okay, what does that actually mean?
Basically, human beings are remarkably efficient at getting used to things. When you upgrade your lifestyle, your brain experiences this huge spike in dopamine.
You feel great.
Right, but very quickly, and research suggests it only takes a few short months, your dopamine receptors downregulate to adjust to this new environment.
So that amazing euphoric feeling of having like a luxury car with heated seats or a bigger kitchen with marble countertops, it just becomes, well, the new normal.
It fundamentally rewrites your baseline. And once that new baseline is established, going back to your old lifestyle doesn't feel like returning to normal.
Because you're used to the heated seats now.
Exactly. And due to our psychological aversion to loss, it feels like a painful step backward. It feels like a punishment.
Wow.
This creates a moving finish line. The goalposts for what feels like enough just keep shifting outward. They are always slightly out of reach no matter how much your income actually grows.
I hear the data on this moving finish line, but I have to push back a bit here.
Sure.
If I go from making $50,000 a year, where I am terrified of a flat tire just bankrupting me, to making $150,000, my survival stress completely disappears.
Right.
Surely, making significantly more money automatically lowers your overall stress levels. Like, it has to.
What's fascinating here is that the data forces us to differentiate between types of stress. You are absolutely correct that survival stress, the panic over buying groceries or keeping the lights on, that vanishes.
Okay, good.
But the TIAA Institute, which focuses heavily on financial wellness, they found that overall financial stress does not consistently decrease as income goes up.
Wait, how is that even possible?
Because as earnings rise, financial obligations and housing costs tend to scale right up alongside them. You essentially trade survival stress for lifestyle maintenance stress.
Lifestyle maintenance stress. That is a great phrase.
Yeah, you take on a massive mortgage, a higher car lease, more expensive insurances, private school tuition. The stress remains because the margin for error remains exactly the same.
You're still living on the edge, just a fancier edge.
Exactly. You just have far more expensive problems competing for that exact same paycheck.
And I imagine a lot of this pressure comes from the fact that we aren't just looking at our own bank accounts in a vacuum. We're looking at our neighbors, our colleagues, our peer group.
Oh, for sure. That brings us to what the National Bureau of Economic Research calls relative income effects.
Right.
We rarely judge our financial well-being by an absolute dollar amount in our checking account. We judge it relatively by comparing ourselves to our surroundings.
Like keeping up with the Joneses.
Yes, but on a subconscious level. If your coworker gets a promotion and buys a luxury SUV, your perfectly functional 5-year-old sedan suddenly feels inadequate.
Even though it runs fine.
Exactly. It quietly pushes your spending upward. And if you add to that the research from Yale University on habit formation, which focuses on neuroplasticity.
Which is how our brains get wired, right?
Right. The financial habits we set early in our careers essentially carve pathways in our brains that just continue running on autopilot.
So if you get used to spending every dime of your paycheck when you are 25 and making entry-level money,
Yes.
your brain just keeps running that same exact software program when you are 35 and making triple the salary. You just buy more expensive versions of the things you bought at 25.
That is the real tragedy of neuroplasticity in this context. You are completely on autopilot. And because consumer research shows that the emotional satisfaction from any new purchase fades so quickly, you are driven to make the next purchase to recapture that high.
Just a cycle.
A cycle that gets exponentially more expensive as your income grows.
If our brains are hardwired to adapt to this new income, like what lies are we telling ourselves to justify buying the bigger house or the luxury car when we mathematically know we shouldn't?
We are very good at lying to ourselves.
Right. How do smart people rationalize taking on more debt when they're making more money? Let's bust some of the myths that keep people stuck on this treadmill.
The most pervasive myth is the illusion that a higher income automatically means safety. People tell themselves, oh, I will start saving as soon as I make more money. I just need this next raise to get ahead.
But waiting to save until I make more, that fundamentally fails because, as we just discussed with hedonic adaptation, the baseline resets.
Yes.
By the time that raise actually hits your bank account, Your lifestyle has already expanded to consume it. You are anticipating the money before it even arrives.
That is the crux of it. The second massive myth is that a higher income inherently solves debt.
Right, you'd think so.
The logical assumption is that if you make more money, you will naturally pay off your loans faster. But lending tree research highlights a very different reality. Average revolving credit card balances actually tend to rise alongside household income, not fall.
Because making more money just qualifies you for higher credit limits.
Exactly.
You get approved for the bigger loan. I mean, the old metaphor is that you are treading water in a deeper pool, but I don't think that even captures the mechanics.
No, it's worse.
It is more like running on a treadmill that automatically speeds up every time you lengthen your stride. The higher credit limit just makes the belt move faster, and you have to sprint just to stay in the exact same place.
That is a much more accurate visualization. The higher income simply supports larger amounts of debt for a longer period of time.
And we also need to talk about the fact that it is not always the big, flashy things that drain the account. We talk about the luxury cars and the mansions, but it is often what I'd call the micro traps.
The micro traps, yes.
It is the slightly nicer car lease. It is ordering premium takeout 4 nights a week instead of 2 because you feel like, well, my time is now worth more.
Oh, the takeout adds up so fast.
It really does. And it is the quiet, invisible multiplication of subscription services.
Those micro traps are brutal, specifically because of how they interact with our psychology. Tech companies intentionally design subscription models to bypass our brain's threat detection centers for large purchases.
Wow, really?
Yeah, we agonize over a $500 flight, right? But we don't debate a $15 monthly subscription. Our brain doesn't register it as a threat, but those small costs compound into massive invisible drains.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. When looking at the source material, housing seems to be the absolute biggest trap of all.
By far.
People buy significantly bigger, more expensive houses just because the mortgage calculator says it is finally within reach for their new salary.
Housing is the ultimate anchor because it creates a massive domino effect. When you buy a larger house in a more expensive zip code, it is never just the mortgage.
No, of course not.
A larger house naturally dictates the need for more expensive furniture to fill those rooms, higher utility bills to heat them, costlier maintenance, increased property taxes, and even the subtle pressure to drive a car that fits the neighborhood.
That is so true.
It locks in a higher baseline across dozens of spending categories simultaneously.
And we have to emphasize that these choices, the house, the car, the convenience of takeout, they aren't inherently wrong. There's no moral failing in wanting a nice home or enjoying the fruits of your labor.
No, not at all.
The danger lies in them happening automatically without conscious choice. But the real tragedy here isn't just the money that gets spent on those things. It is the invisible cost. It is the lost time.
The opportunity cost of compounding. Every single dollar of a raise that gets absorbed into your lifestyle is a dollar that is robbed of 20 or 30 years of compound growth in the market.
Which is huge.
If you wait until your 40s to start investing, even if you are making a massive salary, you have handed away the one resource that money simply cannot buy back, which is time.
To really ground these concepts, I want to look at how this salary trap actually plays out in real life. The sources provided 2 fascinating and very different case studies that perfectly illustrate this.
Oh.
Let's talk about Sarah first.
Okay, Sarah.
She represents what we might call the visible trap.
Right. So Sarah was a marketing director in her late 30s, earning what most would consider an excellent top-tier salary. She displayed all the visible markers of success.
The classic picture of wealth.
Exactly. As her income grew over a decade, she upgraded apartments, which eventually turned into a nice house, better furniture, frequent high-end vacations. Every single raise went toward funding a slightly better version of her life.
The classic hedonic treadmill. She was getting the dopamine hit from the upgrades.
But then layoffs hit her company. And despite a decade of strong, consistently increasing income, Sarah realized she had less than 1 month of expenses saved.
Less than 1 month.
Yes, she had built a massive infrastructure of spending with absolutely no foundation to support it.
That is terrifying, just the anxiety of that.
It was a brutal wake-up call for her. But her story does have a turnaround. She implemented a strict 50% rule for any future income increases, and she started enforcing 30-day pauses before making any big purchases.
Oh, that's smart.
It allowed her to finally build a real safety net without destroying her quality of life.
Okay, so that is Sarah, the obvious, visible overspending that we can easily identify. But then there is Michael, and Michael represents the invisible trap.
Yes, Michael's story is very common.
He was a software engineer in his mid-40s. He didn't have the flashy house or the luxury car. Everything looked incredibly modest. So what separates Sarah's obvious overspending from Michael's quiet trap?
What separates them is how the money leaked out, but the underlying mechanism is identical. It is crucial to understand that income itself is neutral. It is the unexamined, automatic absorption of new money into everyday comfort that creates the vulnerability.
So it's just fading into the background.
Exactly. For Michael, every bonus and raise went into small, constant upgrades. Premium apps, the latest electronics, dining out just a little more often, opting for the direct flight instead of the layover.
Death by a thousand cuts. The microtraps we talked about earlier, basically bypassing his threat detection.
His trap was so quiet that he didn't even notice his retirement contribution percentage hadn't increased in a decade.
Wow, 10 years.
His salary had nearly doubled since he started, but his savings rate stayed completely frozen at the dollar amount he set when he was 25. His day-to-day comfort grew, but his future security did not.
Which is such a powerful realization for you listening. You don't have to be buying sports cars to fall victim to the salary trap. You can just be buying slightly nicer coffee and more convenient apps and still wake up a decade later with nothing to show for your raises.
Yeah, it happens so quietly.
So we see the trap clearly now. The big question is, how do we get out? The research outlines 10 specific practical awareness habits, but I don't want to just rattle off a list. Let's look at the broader philosophical shifts these habits create.
That is definitely the best way to approach it. The first major shift is what we might call intercepting the money. This is about capturing the raise before hedonic adaptation can even set in.
This is where Sarah's 50% rule comes in, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The 50% raise rule dictates that whenever your income increases, a raise, a bonus, a new job, you take half of that new additional money and immediately redirect it towards savings, investments, or debt payoff.
And the other half.
The other half, you are free to enjoy. It is powerful because it still allows you to upgrade your lifestyle and feel rewarded, but you are simultaneously building long-term security.
And you intercept that money by automating the savings, because behavioral research is clear that automated systems beat manual willpower every single time.
Oh, every time. You have to move the money before you can even look at it in your checking account.
You also have to intercept it by sizing your emergency fund to your new income level and increasing your retirement percentages with every single raise.
Yes, those are key.
But let me challenge this for a second. Doesn't intercepting all this money immediately just feel like, I don't know, deprivation? Like, we work hard for these raises.
This raises an important question, and it is where the future self-check comes into play. Pausing before a big purchase and asking, is this for me today? Or am I stealing this comfort from my future self's retirement?
Oh, I like that.
It reframes the action completely. You aren't depriving yourself. You are protecting your future self from your present self's impulses.
That reframing is huge. Okay, so the second major shift is what I'd call auditing the ego, or lifestyle anchoring. This is about preventing the moving finish line. The biggest tool here is tracking a baseline budget.
Keeping a portion of your life living on your old salary.
Exactly.
And this directly ties to capping your housing cost ratios.
Yeah.
Since housing is the biggest anchor that triggers that domino effect of spending we talked about, keeping your rent or mortgage strictly under a defined percentage of your take-home pay protects you from the heaviest burden.
Because it's so hard to undo a housing mistake.
Housing decisions are incredibly hard to reverse quickly, so you really have to cap them before you sign the paperwork. It requires separating your identity from your spending. Honestly asking yourself, am I buying this for its utility, or am I buying this to prove something to my peers?
Guarding against that relative income effect.
Right.
The final shift I see here is choosing friction overflow, like making it intentionally harder to spend money automatically. Habit 5 is the 30-day delay for lifestyle upgrades.
That one is so effective.
If I want to buy something big, I put it on a list and wait 30 days. It forces a separation between the emotional dopamine spike of wanting the item and making a long-term financial commitment.
It cools down the impulse and lets your logical brain catch up. The other friction tool is the quarterly subscription audit. Going through your bank statement every 3 months and ruthlessly cutting the dead weight.
But let's be real here.
Yeah?
Nobody actually wants to sit down on a Saturday afternoon and comb through bank statements to cancel a $10 streaming service.
Yeah.
I mean, how do we make that actually happen?
You make it a scheduled, low-stakes event. You pair it with something enjoyable, a good coffee, a specific playlist. The goal isn't to punish yourself. It is simply to turn off the invisible leaks.
That makes sense.
And we have a great real-world example of these shifts in action from the sources. Jennifer, a hospital administrator.
Oh, this story was fantastic.
She got a significant promotion, but before she even had the chance to get used to the extra income, the exact week her raise hit, she automated a massive bump to her retirement contributions.
So she just moved it immediately.
She intercepted the money before her brain could establish a new baseline. A year later, she reported feeling just as comfortable in her daily life as she did before the promotion, but her retirement account was growing faster than ever.
Wow.
She didn't feel deprived because she never let the new money dictate her lifestyle.
So what does this all mean for us? It means we have to stop framing savings as a restriction.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is a fundamental mindset shift. It is treating your savings and your investments as a fixed, mandatory bill that gets paid first, rather than treating it as an optional leftover.
A bill to yourself.
Exactly. It is measuring your financial progress by your net worth, not by the size of your paycheck or the brand of your car.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to reiterate something crucial. If you take anything away from this conversation, let it be this: your financial security is not determined by the raw size of your paycheck.
No, it's not.
It is determined by your awareness at the exact millisecond that new money enters your life. Small, conscious choices made consistently will compound over time into absolute freedom.
It is about breaking the autopilot. Earning more is a wonderful achievement, but only if you actually get to keep it.
I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, something to really explore on your own. If society's entire definition of making it, the visible upgrades, the expanding lifestyle, the new cars, if that is fundamentally flawed, and if true wealth is actually the invisible, unspent space between what you earn and what you consume, what is your current spending reflecting back at you?
That is the real question to ponder.
Think about that contradiction we started with. The doctor who makes 4 times the average salary but has nothing to show for it. We want our money to be like an X-ray, clean, clear, and precise. But human behavior makes it murky.
It really does.
Don't let the gas expand to fill the container. Protect that unspent space. Thanks for diving deep with us.